we'll go ahead and review 3 tips that pertain to using text blocks within Marketing Cloud. Really best practices that all of us should be following. First tip is the importance around pasting clean text within Marketing Cloud. So what that means is that a lot of folks copy and paste text from an outside application. Maybe it's a Word doc or a website, a PDF, something like that, and then go ahead and paste that into Marketing Cloud, which is theoretically a perfectly fine process. But what can happen is that coding from that original application is copied with that, and it makes for really messy coding on the back end. So ultimately, individuals receiving your email, depending on their inbox, it could end up looking really wonky. To highlight what not to do, I've gone ahead and added this text block into an email. And I have a Word doc that I'll go ahead and copy the text from here and just paste it directly into this area. We can see that it took a lot of the formatting from that Word doc where this is linked. And I know that's often appealing to individuals, then I don't have to go ahead and actually manually decide to link this. That is a bad practice. You really do need to go about building this out kind of from scratch within Marketing Cloud. As there's areas of this that while it did go ahead and link it, it didn't provide a title or a tracking alias, but it's also gone ahead and added a lot of formatting that you might not necessarily see here. But I will highlight that on this tab on the far right, there's an HTML editor version of this. And there is a lot of extra code in here that Marketing Cloud's going to read it one way. And then once it actually gets sent, and depending on how it gets received, that can just get really mangled quite quickly. So we want to avoid doing that. So I've shown the example of pasting text that's not clean, but now I'll walk you through 3 different ways that you can paste it in a clean way. So I'm still going to copy my text from my Word doc, but instead of pasting it directly into Marketing Cloud, I'm going to use Notepad as a middleman. So we should all have this on our computers. It's called Notepad. And you're really just pasting it here and then copying it from here. So Notepad doesn't have any of the formatting that Word does. So you're not going to be able to copy that bad formatting. I'm going to go ahead and drag in a new text block here just so I don't get any of the messy coding that could be in there. But now when I paste directly in here, we'll see that this is not linked. So you will need to do that manually. That also means that there's not this added code. And we can also confirm that by checking out the HTML editor. And there's not a ton of code in here. A similar but different way to go about this, if you were to copy directly from an application that does have a lot of formatting in it, we said we don't want to paste directly in here. We don't like all that formatting that was brought in. But you could actually go to this HTML editor version. And when you paste in here, it also does not pick up any of that formatting. So in part good, but you're also going to have to go back into content here and make sure you get your spaces where they were supposed to be. So different means to the same end. And you just kind of need to figure out what you prefer. So the third option, I actually haven't been able to get on to work on my computer recently, but it's definitely worth a shot for you. So what you can do is, instead of just, I've been using my keypad to say Control V or paste, but there's actually a button up here for you to paste, but you can choose paste as plain text or paste from Word. And those 2 bottom options should try to strip out formatting. But you'll see as I try to do it, my browser doesn't support it. So give these different methods a shot. And if there's any confusion, feel free to reach out to your eComm specialist for a little bit of clarity. It's definitely something we want you to be doing every time you're pasting text. Our next tip is to set Arial font in every text block. While you can set a global style of Arial font, and that is well received by many email clients, it is not received by all. And I'm specifically referencing Outlook will often actually indicate in the inbox that email in Times New Roman. To set Arial font in every text block, we'll need to highlight all the text in there. I use Control A on my keyboard. And that font name area might indicate font, which is not what we want to see. We'd probably want to have that updated to Arial. And that simple step should ensure that your emails render well, specifically in Outlook and not in the Times New Roman font. To showcase this, I am looking at an email within Marketing Cloud. When I click in this specific text block, I'm going to hit Control A just to highlight everything in here. What you'll notice is this font name is set to just read font. And that means it's relying on the default in the global settings. And when I say that, what I mean is, I'm going to say done editing here. We have this design level where we could see that the body of this email is Arial. So while that works in some email clients, as I mentioned, Outlook is not one of them. So what we'll sometimes see is that this will show up in somebody's inbox as actually Times New Roman. And one way I kind of like showing this, if I go ahead and try to save this block, say create new, that looks like Times New Roman to me. And so what we actually go ahead and do on every email before it goes out is just hit Control A, highlight everything in this block. And then instead of this font name just reading font, again, that default, we want to actually code it a second time saying, no, make it Arial. And so it might not look different in Marketing Cloud right now at all, which I know is a little frustrating, but the one difference we do see is that when I click in this text, it reads Arial here. And just a final confirmation that if I go to try to save this block this time, it actually shows up in Arial like I want it to. And the final tip is around increased spacing of your text. So I've seen some of the single spacing looking almost overlapped on different devices, and that could be desktop or mobile. So don't be shy on increasing that to 1.5 or double spacing. And that just makes it easier to read. If you find yourself hesitating to increase the spacing because people have to scroll so much, I would really challenge you to have less text. The spacing for your emails is controlled at the design level. So same space where we're seeing this body text is Arial font. We have that line height set there. So definitely encourage you go ahead and do it at the design level. But if you are doing it within specific blocks as well, I will highlight that item is just to the left of the styles option. Again, any specific questions on applying these tips should be directed to your eComm specialist.